Good morning, ISD Facebook friends. We are here for our Sunday Metaphysical service, and we've just finished up the healing portion of our service and are now transitioning to our reading and homily. So I would like to introduce Reverend Story Lucile Ducey, our intelligent, wise, and divine feminine, delivering the homily today.
Put this right on top of your computer.
You can, as long as
that was next to it.
Shift it.
Hello, everybody. So many laptops. So, technology. Good morning, everybody. Let's see. We have to press.
I can take care of that.
Got it. Okay. There you go. Now I can see myself a little bit better. Okay. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I'm Story Lucile Ducey B. Welcome to our metaphysical service on Father's Day. And we're zooming in and we are broadcasting from Oneonta, New York. And with great gratitude, we reach out to many different states and many different dimensions. We are spiritualists. At the Institute for Spiritual Development, we believe that life is continuous. We believe that we can communicate between the planes, that these are part of our spiritual gifts. And we believe that all life has value and purpose, and that every life has merit and brings forth the evolution on this planet. So today we're talking about Father's Day, and I chose the title Bravery of Fathers. We're celebrating the bravery of fatherhood and the concepts of karma and grace. I'm a big believer that we are very old souls and that we are evolving this human and animal form. I'm wearing today my amatites, which are very ancient fossils, to remind myself as I give this talk and everybody that we are in a divine play. I'm a student of Edgar Cayce and also the Bible and all major traditions. And every single spiritual tradition talks about a father or a benevolent spiritual force that protects us and oversees us. This is a difficult and scary plane if you're just staying in the animal mind. But when you move into the greater mind or the good mind that is within each of us, you're tapping into that benevolent father, the benevolent wisdom voice that comes from a higher archetype and is always speaking to each of us. Right now, I'm in the feminine form, as you said, the divine feminine form, working it. And many of us are in the divine masculine form, working it. This is school. We come here to work. We come here to evolve the animal nature into a more spiritual and more enlightened vehicle so the greater parts of our soul can manifest. We all take part in evolution. Our bodies are designed that we desire another person. We desire love. And one of the biggest things that the human race knows how to do is to make children. We are very good at making children. So if you ever wonder about the theory of reincarnation, we can make one life, we can make many lives. And the gift of this study is understanding that we're on a mission and that we are eternal souls. So in the ancient tradition, many of us also believe that we incarnate into this sacred play, playing these different roles for one another, as you might do in your own. I'm a woman, I'm a sister, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a lover, I'm a cousin, I'm an uncle. We all have these different roles. But as spiritualists, we go back and we believe that we take on these different roles together to be part of this play because we're much greater beings. And so there are times when you'll come in to be the father in my family, or you'll come in to be the father in your own child's family. And so you come through. We've had many fathers, many times of being a father. And I like to say that in this human condition, I heard this one day as I was giving a memorial service. We are human, we love deeply. We are human, we love imperfectly. My own father was a wonderful man and a beautifully imperfect human being like I am. I think that's the beauty of ISD. And what I wanted to talk about today is that we take turns offering services and inspirational talk from a place of deep humility. And that's part of the bravery. If you take on being a father in this lifetime, you're taking on a promise to be a protector, a promise to be a guide, a promise to be the Lord or the the guidance, the wise one in a family. And today you're coming in as a father to also be a co-creator with the mother or an equal. So we're evolving also the relationship of fathers to their own children. So we're in a generation now where men are also nurturing their children and also protecting the mothers in a whole different way. We are in this work together now. So that being said, I wanted to also talk, we have biological fathers. We also have fathers that we choose. We choose mentors, we choose teachers. And for us in our generation, when I look to the greater stories of fathers, I saw some particular fathers that this generation's been blessed with. And they come from the understanding, just like my father. My father was the son of a World War I veteran who became ill and post-traumatic stress. And he brought that stress into his own family and was a good engineer, but he became an alcoholic. So that family had to struggle with her father in post-traumatic stress, a father with alcoholism, and yet there was a lot of love, but there was also a lot of violence and confusion. So my father grew out of that, went and served in World War II, and lost a brother, and then went into a new life, married my mother, and took on the bravery of being a father. He took it on. And he pulled himself up out of the imperfection and also the goodness of his family life, because we always have both. And he became a doctor. He saw so much blood shed in World War II that he felt helpless. He was on the beach of Japan. He said, how can I serve when he came home? So he became a doctor. He turned this pain, the trauma of war, the trauma of his own father, into a way of serving and helping others. This is the course of transformation. This is the hero's journey of this planet. We come into conditions, different conditions, the Buddhists call it, we arise in certain conditions, and then we figure out what's the challenge and test, and then we see how we can transform it. So he transformed the pain of his youth into service, and the pain of war into service, by becoming not only brave enough to have a family of his own, but he went on to tend and be a father to many, many, many souls. So that's how he transcended. He turned his trauma into service. And that is part of the hero's journey. It's part of how we transcend the difficulty of this plane. We move into service out of trauma, take the lesson, and move into service. This is a work in progress. And today I also wanted to talk about Wayne Dyer. He's another man who had an alcoholic and absentee father. He's another man who struggled his way out and was working as a cashier and studying his principles of intention. And the whole time he was wrestling with, why didn't I have a perfect father? Where was my father? So this was the beginning of Wayne Dyer's learning to pull his own strings. That was one of his first books. So he pulled his own strings out of an absentee father. So we don't all have these perfect hallmark fathers, do we? We have very human, and yet very loving at the same time, and conflicted men as well. So we all have those gifts and challenges. And so what did he decide to do? He turned around and he became a father for millions. Wayne Dyer is what you want to say, the benevolent father, the benevolent wise voice. And he had a great sense of humor. Humor is also a way that we transcend pain. Now, one of his lines was, friends are God's way of apologizing for your family. Okay. All right. Now, some of us have great family members, and I'm a big believer in karma. I know we ride this game. I know we ride together. So humor is very important. Beautiful, important. And another line. Now imagine. So I took on Wayne Dyer as another father voice in my head. I think many of us did, just like Chopra, just like the Dalai Lama, who said religion. He lost his home. He was kicked out of his home, the Dalai Lama. His whole country was shattered. And he went out into the world. And what did he do? He turned the world into his home. He turned the world into his country. He left the limitations of his past that said you can't serve the outside world, and said, I was forced into the outside world. I'm going to serve where I stand. And many of us are forced out of our families of origin, a little shocked into this other world, but learn to serve where we stand. And one of the greatest teachings the Dalai Lama gave us, kindness is my religion. There can't be a more simpler. Kindness is my religion. That's the good father. That's not the judgmental, angry father of the past. That's the wise father saying, how do we find a path through healing? Simple things like kindness and fortitude and bravery. And that's another aspect of what's going on in the world right now. And that's why I use the word bravery. I'm going to grab my tissues. I'm staying very abstract, but I'm going to hold on to my tissue box for a minute. Human being. We are all right now. There are thousands of men in the world right now, probably tens of thousands of men who are fathers, who are defending their families and their home in the Ukraine. There are many fathers today that are going to put down their lives to protect the freedom of their families. This is what the divine masculine does when called upon, whether we're cavemen, whether we are modern men, or in the future, to protect truth, beauty, goodness, and the fragility of human life. So I wanted to hold on to the fact that right now we have fathers offering up their lives to protect their children. And the other aspect of that is I have a son, Alexander, who just gave birth to his first son, William Alexander. And in the midst of all of this trauma, he says to me, this is a great time to be born, a great time to be born, because we have great medicine. We've got technology. We have the opportunity to create a new world together. And I say, brava, Alexander, brava, all of the young fathers of this generation that have that life force that say, we're going to rebuild the world, we're going to do it again, and I'm bringing in a son to help carry on the work. So that's the bravery of new fathers. And we have to thank them for the bravery that they bring on as the older parents move into the role of counselor, and the younger fathers go into active duty and service for their young families in a beautiful new paradigm of bringing forth the divine feminine and masculine together. And I also want to acknowledge all the other fathers in Russia, Siberia, all the other countries, Africa, that are also trying to defend their families in this very confusing world. And so that's the other thing about the strength of a father and the challenge of being a father. There's a time when your children will look at you and say, well, why aren't you invincible? The 6-year-old looks at you and you're father hero, and you're the father. And then you go on and life goes on, and your teenager gets into a car accident and finds out life is not so easy anymore. They've got to deal with a difficult surgery. All of our kids at some point have a reality lesson, and they look up at their parents and go, well, why aren't you invincible? Why couldn't you prevent that from happening? And so fathers also bear the burden of not being invincible. The call is to be the hero of the family and the protector, but you can't always protect people from the trials and tribulations of life. But a good man, a strong man, learns how to teach his family the rightness of character and coming from a place of humility, not that he has to be the hero that saves the family, but rather the person that shows how to navigate life's trials and tribulations from a point of integrity and a point of optimism, no matter what happens. And that's what Wayne Dwyer brought to us as a people, and what my father brought to us as a family in his imperfection. He went on to serve others. So here's another line from Wayne Dwyer. Again, a father we took on. The mark of an immature man is that he wants to die nobly for a cause. Think old world, right? I'm a hero. I'm wearing my badges. While the mark of a mature man is that he wants to live humbly for a cause. Again, stepping out of ego into a higher service. I used to ride on my father's shoulders when I was 4 years old, and would go into the hospital rooms on Sunday morning when he would take care of his patients. And I'm riding on his shoulders, and he's doing his rounds. And I remember it's just being a 4-year-old looking around the room and saying, who's taking care of their souls? who's taking care of their souls? There's a little story reincarnated with her father on the shoulder. And so I've realized ever since then, so here I am working on helping people take care of their souls, remembering that you have a soul and to tend yourself regardless of those bruises, because there's great merit in growing through those challenges. So then later on, when my father passed, he was not a perfect man, but he was a good, hardworking man. He didn't want to have anything to do with my grandchildren. He couldn't cope with young children. And so he absented himself when I was a young mother and had these 3 beautiful boys. It was a difficult thing to navigate. So, but when he passed, being a spiritualist, I raised my fist at the ceiling and said, okay, Dad, now you've got them. You get to watch them on the spirit side. You know, you weren't here, you know, for the birthday parties, but now you've got them. And I feel that he has been there as a spiritual protective presence. And I know as my own work as spiritualist and in the work that we do in the development circles, when we bring through parents, our parents are always with us. They're part of a family tree, whether they're in flesh, you're fortunate, whether they're in spirit, they're part of our team, and they come in as much greater souls. This is a very difficult gig. We are greater than this gig. And Donald Walsh, the man who wrote A Conversation with God, has a beautiful children's story. And in this story, he talks about the difficulties and the trials and the tribulations of life, disease, death, suffering, depression. And at the end of the story, all of the characters take off their physical bodies and they reveal their light bodies to one another. And they say, oh my God, that was you. You were the brother I struggled with. But because I struggled with you, I learned about mercy. You came in to help me learn about mercy. We're one. We're in that cohort together. So with the imperfection of fathers, also realize that you're part of the cohort. We came in together. And so working as a spiritualist, I know that I was with my father and my mother in different places and times. And I got the gifts from them and the challenges for them. I learned a couple of things because I was very much a student of Edgar Cayce and an understanding of reincarnation. And this is where karma and grace come in. And forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. When you understand that we're in school, you become motivated to learn how to forgive. You become motivated to learn how to navigate life with more integrity, and you learn the importance of mercy. And then, so at certain points, I would deal with some of the imperfections of my father and be upset with them. But then I realized he was a highly intelligent being, and if we do this work, I'm a highly intelligent being. He supported my education. That was a gift in my generation. But at the same time, he could be very arrogant and he had to rule a room. So I turned it around and I said, well, there you go. There's my lesson. I chose that man because I also love to speak. I also love to share intelligence. But I'm thinking in this lifetime, my lesson is I better learn to do it from a point of humility. I better learn not to try to rule the room. So if you look at the imperfections of your parents, you say, well, why did I choose you? Okay, maybe I chose you because that little thing that goes arrogant is something I don't want to take into the next generation. Okay, well, why did I choose you? Oh, maybe that's that alcoholism gene. Maybe I decided that this is the life when I wanted to combat alcoholism and win. Okay, hey, why did I choose you? Oh, maybe that's because you're not so honest all the time. And I really wanted to work on being honest. And it hurts me to know that I've got a parent who will bend the truth a little bit. So look at your parents with mercy and grace and see what lessons the whole group is working on. So you'll work on bringing forth your family wisdom and also the group of the cohort together. So that being said, there was a beautiful thing when my father was passing. He couldn't speak. He had been in a car accident. He was on life support. And for a man who couldn't speak, his mouth, he was unable to speak. His hands were tied down. He was a doctor. He knew that they had put a certain device on him and he wanted to pull it out because he knew he could never get it out. So I went to his bedside and I sat into prayer. Being a spiritualist, I said, okay, Dad, let me show you what I can do. And I went telepathic with him. And I said, where are you? How can I help? Because he couldn't speak. And he showed me that he was between the planes. I said, okay. I said, is there anything else you need to know? And he gave me a little information. So we started working telepathically at the time of his passing, and we've been working telepathically ever since. And through very humble and difficult, there's always, you need good counseling through this to continue to, again, practice mercy. And I let him in as a being of light in my work, but I didn't want to deal with his personality. So that's also you can do with parents who pass, let in their higher selves and let the lower personality chapters dissolve, but focus in a higher way. So that being said, while he was passing and in cremation, he was in the crematorium, and I brought in, he was a great opera lover. And I brought in Joan Sutherland singing Somnambula, the Sleepwalker. And I wanted to work on prayer cards. So, crematorium takes some while. So I was working on the prayer cards. And he was a great one for bringing through the libretto. So we're listening to Somnambula, the fires going on. It was, it was quite an interesting couple of hours. And because I'm a spiritualist, and a firm believer that the body is just a vehicle, I could continue to communicate with him. And it was very strong and powerful. And at one point he said to me, because he always said that, you should have brought the libretto. Okay, because I didn't bring the full libretto. And always, at Dr. Ducey's house, you brought a libretto to opera. But this is what we did choose for his prayer card. And it's on many Christian people's prayer cards. And that's the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. And if you know Wayne Dyer, you know that he prayed on his father's grave to understand and to try to heal the difficulty of that lifetime. And it was through praying to his father that he understood the importance of finding mercy. Okay. Let's see. And he thinks like some people believe that he may have been Francis of Assisi, with this connection. So he talks about, let's see. So Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. That's the theme of the prayer. And I'm trying, I guess the prayer didn't pull up. All right, well, we all know that prayer. It's a good prayer about karma. Go look up St. Francis of Assisi. So I'm going to read you one more, which is something that was in my house as we were growing up and with my brother. And I think this is the truth. We all come into a battle. And this is by Rudyard Kipling, and it's called If. So this is the challenge of being a man, okay? If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or be lied about and don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good or talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings and lose the common touch, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill with the unforgiving minute, with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Thank you for choosing the brave work of being a father Alexander. I bid you adieu. Okay. Come join and study with us at ISD. We'll continue the interesting conversations with all the fathers and generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Story. That brilliant delivery of what a divine masculine looks like. Thank you so much. You modeled that so beautifully in this. So to all of our Facebook friends, thank you for joining us today. Happy Father's Day to everybody. And as always, if you want to see what we're up to, what we're doing, what we have offered, you can go to our website and click on calendar of events, and we will be back with you soon.